Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Staff, can we please call the roll so we can establish quorum?
At this time, I am only asking those CAC members attending in person to respond by saying here when I call your name. I want to remind you to unmute your microphones by pushing the button on the base prior to responding. Lily Charlotte Landstrom. Here. Aquanette Tyson Thomas. Here. Kate Layden. Here. James Garvin.
Here.
Tay Gaines.
Here.
Paula Ryan is excused. Jim Knight.
Here.
Lauren Steep is excused. Cheryl Murente. BJ Mishra is excused. Michael Corvus.
Here.
Myra Newman.
Here.
James Lafferty.
Here.
Greg Fagan.
Here.
Albert Richwagon.
Here.
Win Dang. Here. Alex Freeman. Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Ruth. At this time, I'm only asking those CAC members attending in person to respond by saying, oh, I'm sorry. It's been a morning. So are there any modifications to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chair.
Are there any changes to the minutes? If not, may I have a motion to adopt the minutes as presented?
Second.
First by Albert, second by Jim. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. That passes. General public comment and public comments on the agenda. Information instructions on how to provide public comment are included in the agenda. Staff, have any general comments been received?
No, Mr. Chair.
As a reminder, for action items on the agenda, there are conflict of interest forms available if needed for any CAC members. At this time, I have any CAC member comments on items not already on the agenda? Hearing none. All right, I would like to invite Matthew Massa to provide an update with the CAC Staff Liaisons Report.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today we got a quick liaison report, so I'll just go through it briefly. First on the agenda, we have FDOT project design and review training. We had August 19th. We had some great engagement with FDOT and city staff, so we thank everyone for attending. And you can review the presentation and materials on the TPA's website at palmbeachtpa.org/project review training. Next week on September 10th, we will be having a e-bike and mobility safety workshop. This is going to be in person and on Zoom. So it'll be at 9 a.m. to discuss legislative updates, e-bikes and e-scooters, design strategies to integrate micromobility into local transportation networks safely. So we encourage everyone to register and join us. Walk and Roll to School Day. So National Walk and Roll to School Day will be taking place October 8th. We hope everyone registers with a school and finds local resources at walkbiketoschool.org and encourages their communities to participate. Building support for walkable and bikeable communities workshop. So the TPA will be hosting an in-person workshop with John Batters, American Bicycle Mayor. So you may have seen them recently on November 3rd from 2 to 4 p.m. Planners, engineers, and elected officials will learn best practices for communicating and building support for walkable and bikeable communities. We encourage everyone to join us in person here and to register, again, palmbeachtpa.org/walk bike workshop. And then the Dutch Cycling Transformation Infrastructure and Communication Strategies webinar. So the TPA will be hosting Chris and Melissa on November 20th from 9:30 to 11 a.m., highlighting strategies for public support and benefits of active transportation initiatives. And to register for that webinar, palmbeachtpa.org/Dutch Cycling Webinar. And of course, we encourage all of our members to stay in tune with the TPA by signing up for events, looking at our resource pages, and signing up for our newsletters. And that is all I have, Chair.
Thank you, Matthew. Staff, are there any public comments on this item?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, do we have any committee members with comments or questions on the liaisons report? Myron?
Thank you.
Is my understanding correct that e-bike riders are only allowed to pedal while on sidewalks? They only use their motor on roadways? Is that correct?
Can you state that again?
My understanding is that e-bike riders must pedal if on a sidewalk. Is that correct?
I'll allow Nate and George to explain
That's what
that.
they said in the paper. I don't know if it's true.
Hi, everybody. Nathan George, back with the TPA, Principal Multimodal Planner. So I would say the answer to your question is it will vary, but largely regulation of e-bikes has been deferred to local communities if they want to provide any specific regulations. I know this is an issue we were looking at in our e-bike regulations when I was working with the city of Boca. So it's an issue that is deferred to localities if they choose to adopt any specific regulations in that regard. In terms of can somebody ride an e-bike on the sidewalk? That's something that I have not seen any state legislation. It's something we can look at and go back to Myron if we see anything, or we'll look into that and try and discuss it next week as well.
Is there any interest in the county for making a county-wide regulation in that respect? Because, some of our local jurisdictions are small, they abut each other. It's hard to know what the town you're in, actually.
Yeah, I would say we're going to see uneven application of local standards, local policies regulating the use of e-bikes or micromobility. That's one of the challenges we're going to face. The state recently removed age restrictions in their statewide legislation about micromobility. So it is going to be a challenge. The county would not be able to preempt other localities as well. So that is an additional challenge. The county would be able to address micromobility use on their roadways or within the unincorporated area, and other jurisdictions will have to choose. And we will have a local jurisdiction who's speaking to local ordinance that they're looking to bring forward within their community next week.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Chaos reigns.
Any other comments from the committee? Seeing none. I'd like to bring up the first action item, 2A, which is a recommendation for adoption of amendment number 1 to the TPA's fiscal year 2630 Transportation Improvement Program. I'd like to invite Andrew Euler, Deputy Director of Programs, to present on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So this is the first amendment to our Transportation Improvement Program for fiscal year 26 to 30. So that's our federal and state funding of transportation products within our county over the next 5 years. This first amendment is the same sort of amendment we do every year. And actually, every MPO in the state rolls out an amendment like this as their first one every year. And it's typically called the roll forward. And I'll explain a bit more about what that means. So one is a tip amendment needed. So the ones that are triggered today are really adding phases to products. So adding or deleting a product triggers that. And then we had a few other additional requests, 3 products that are outside just the roll forward, which do have new phases or they have a length change. So those are 3 specific ones that were provided in the backup with the letters from FDOT regarding those revisions. And as a reminder, this only impacts products that are in the amendment. So you're not voting on the tip as a whole document. It's only those listed within the amendment. So specifically, this first amendment and the roll forward. So it's called the roll forward. And what that means is it is taking the unspent funds from the prior fiscal year on projects, those phases. And if the phases are not complete or there are delays, that fund, then those funds then roll to the current fiscal year. So this is rolling from our prior fiscal year 2025. So phases that were not complete, rolling to fiscal year 26. And so it can be because product delays, unfinished phases, and then also a lot of administrative small amounts of money that have not yet been closed out. So when you look in the backup has the products in order of the amount of money that's rolling. And so if you get to the second page and to the third page, you're seeing just a few $1,000s on product phases. These may just be a few projects that the product managers are still closing out and they haven't really closed that out yet. And so that money is continuing to roll. What we're seeing in this roll forward for fiscal year 26, so this is all going into the new, into the current fiscal year 26, is around $49.7 million rolling forward. And that brings the total to around $477 million in the new tip. So right now our 26 number is 428 million. We're adding $50 million to that. This breaks it down by the product sections. So the largest amounts being rolled forward, around 14.6 million in SIS capacity. That's our major rotaries within the county. Our local initiatives program, $12.7 million. And then federal and state funded products with another 15 million, all the top categories, sections in our tip. And then outside of just the roll forward report that we have received from FDOT, there are 3 other requests. The first one is a product in West Palm Beach. This is a legislative appropriations, and it's adding $850,000 on Caroline Street pedestrian bridge. So this is the pedestrian bridge going over the canal. Well, there will be a pedestrian bridge going over the canal on Caroline Street, which is over by the Grandview area. It's a Grandview Marketplace area. The next 2 are Palm Beach County mast arm products. So these are signal replacements with mast arm upgrades. The first one is the refining of a product length. So it triggers that amendment there for the length difference. And so the original work program and our tip had it at 20.45 miles. The reason being that it was a broad length that was put into the work program. And so FDOT, after going through design and about 90% design now, they refined the actual locations of that to be very specific to where the impacts are going to occur. And that's at 1.29 miles. So that's what triggered the amendment. And then there's minor cost changes on that project. And then also regarding that product, there is not an additional right-of-way phase. So this is adding a right-of-way phase of around $957,000. So new phase into the tip, which triggers an amendment. This is open for public review. It's going to be seen at the governing board meeting this month on September 18th. It's available on our website, which has the full document. There's the ability to comment on that webpage as well. And people can also go to our tip tool to view it more interactively and comment specifically on products through that tool as well. So trying to provide different means of public opportunity and feedback. And I can take any questions on that. Thank you.
Ruth, are there any public comments on this item?
No, Mr. Chair.
Do any committee members have any comments or questions? Seeing none. Having no other further discussion, can I have a motion and a second?
To approve. Second.
Motion by Albert, second by Jim. All in favor, please say.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, Andrew. All right, so we're going to move on to item 3A, which is an informational item about the Palm Beach County-wide Transportation Master Plan update. I'd like to invite Patrick Roeder, Deputy County Administrator, and Thuy Shutt to present on this item. Patrick?
Good afternoon, everybody. Okay. Red throws me off. Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, Pat Rutter, Deputy County Administrator, Thuy Shutt, the Planning Division Director at Palm Beach County. Going to tag team this and give you an update and kind of walk you back through what we've done, where we are, and where we will be moving forward. So countywide transportation plan, I'll start with kind of the purpose, and then I'm going to walk you back through the time frame and how we got to where we are today. So purpose, you see a number of bullets there, establishing a multi-jurisdictional process, the planning framework for countywide vision. I've been at the county coming up on 23 years, born and raised in West Palm. Something like this has never been done, never been tried. Certainly a lot of large-scale initiatives, but nothing engaging all of our cities, all stakeholders, whether they're on the governmental side, the industry side, civic organization, things like that. Nothing's been done that really addresses our transportation needs and networks holistically. And that's what you see that first bullet starts at. Second one talks about incorporating intergovernmental coordination. I'll talk you through in a second about how we developed it and the coordination that's been done to date and will continue to do through the conclusion of the transportation master plan. Third bullet talking about multimodal transportation needs. Maybe 20, 25 years ago, we would have talked very specifically and almost entirely on capacity type things and dealing with automobiles almost exclusively. And our world has changed significantly since I heard your question on e-bikes and golf carts. And we could go on and just pedestrian activity, mobility in any form or fashion that's changed. And that's part of this as well, recognizing that. This kind of feeds back into the second one before, the intergovernmental coordination, understanding all of our cities, our 39 cities, what's important to them, what does transportation in any form mean to them? How do they see it? What are their priorities? That fourth bullet, use it as a foundation for the county and the cities to separately adopt or update their own specific plans, their own specific improvements. So we'll develop this, start with the biggest of big picture looks with the input from all the cities. Each local government then takes from that and meets their needs, how they so choose. But having that idea on the interconnected nature of our transportation network across the board. Then we come down to the end and Twee will talk more about our consultant on board and what they're doing, but the study is broken up into 4 stages and you can see those there. I can't emphasize it enough. 4 stages, 12 months. This is probably a study that could easily be a 2-year-ish study, and we're going to get it done in 12 months. And we don't have a choice. My board has told me that it needs to be done in this time frame. I'm going to walk you through right now the work that's been done to get it to this point, but we've already hit the ground running. The consultants hit the ground running. County staff was doing a lot of work before. We had consultant actually on board trying to prep a lot of data and information and have them ready to go. But we're going to get a lot of work done in a very short period of time. So the background, you see the date there, July of 24, when our board first gave us direction on coordinating with the cities and developing an RFP. Some of that conversation had really begun at our board level prior to that and go back to the spring of 24. And the board had brought it up, and some of it was precipitated by direction from the board at the time. I believe it was February of 24 when they chose not to want to take up the infrastructure sales tax and seek to re-engage that. But the board did indicate that they would we're open to the idea of talking about potentially dedicated funding source and transportation. So that led to not a discussion about the funding, but a discussion about having a transportation master plan, countywide, understanding what the needs are, where folks would want to go. So first step going back to that spring was meeting with the City Managers Association. And for those who might not know, City Managers Association of Palm Beach County meets every month. I think I've been to every one now for the last 12, 14 months or so, having conversations with them. And there were some tough conversations early. Wow, we want a seat at the table, a lot of, I'll leave it at tough conversations, but we got through it. They needed to happen because if we're going to make this happen, we need everybody involved and everybody engaged. And we got through that and we worked it up. That led to development of the RFP. Now, I will tell you this, the Board of County Commissioners budgeted has allocated $1 million for it. It's county money. It's your ad valorem dollars that are out there. So we're handling the procurement side of it. In doing so, we needed to protect ourselves on our procurement processes and procedures. So we're running that piece of it, running the contract. What we did, though, was engage a number of cities and their planning staff to help write the RFP. So going back about a year or so, planning officials from a number of cities, I think it was 6 or 7 of them, I think it was like 5 or 6 Fridays in a row, literally went down line by line and developed the RFP, the one that eventually became the one that hit the streets. Did a lot of work in a very short period of time. We took that document then to the City Managers Association, who had a little bit of a subset group. So I think we had 10 or 12 city managers. We met on a Friday. It was in October last year, locked ourselves in a room and weren't going to let ourselves out until it was done. Gave them a chance to see, read, vet, amend, debate, wherever it goes, what was in the RFP. Back to engaging as many people as possible. So I had a lot of prompting on, a lot of people want to be in the room writing the RFP. Back to, we're handling procurement. We've got to protect our interest side of it, but we want to make sure that there's many people involved and know that they had a voice in writing it. So we went through with the same managers, actually got done in a couple hours because the work that the planning folks had done was that good. I'd say it's about a 90% document, minor changes were made. Put it out in the street, got our responses. We had 3 responsive bidders, went to a pre-selection and a selection committee. Would tell you that there was representation from cities on the selection committees as well. So again, every step along the way here, tried to be as inclusive, not try, we are as inclusive as possible with our municipalities in the designing of it, writing of it, and then selection of it. So selection was made, began contract negotiations in May, signed a contract. Our board authorized the contract in June. And, again, we'd already started some measure of the work at that point, but July 1st, the contract was live and we were off and running. So contract July 1st, looking for a completion date, October 1st. Said the board budgeted $1 million. Their response that we got back, all 3 actually came in at or below $1 million. Put it together, you'll see, and again, Twee will go into a little more detail, 14 tasks in the scope. Fee proposal came by task and by month. There's a lot of good detail in there. Public engagement, which is the early on step. 2 big things going on in this initial phase we have right now. One was the data collection and just consultant wrapping their heads around things. The other is public engagement. We're rolling out a number of meetings. Is it 7 or 8, Twee? I always get it backwards. 8, thank you. Meetings over the next few weeks. And we'll show you the website in a second where the dates are. So that will be that initial blast of open house, public engagement. Come share whatever you want to share, whether you're a stakeholder, whether you're a resident, whether you're a business owner. Doesn't matter. We want to hear from you what folks have to say. And then again, pointed out that from our side, we're still running the procurement piece of it, kind of that core team as we're tracking it. Someone's got to check the bills and someone's got to make sure the tasks are being hit and performed. I'll take you to the project timeline, but before I get there, I want to point out 2 other agencies. Again, the great interest in being as inclusive as possible with other stakeholders, most notably our cities. Talked about the City Manager Association. Another group, IPARC, and I won't bore you with the acronym. It's a resolution among most of our cities where comprehensive plan amendments may go. As part of that agreement, they have a group called the Issues Forum, which is all of their participating cities. And they, through decades, have taken up issues of countywide regional significance, this being one of them. So we've talked to the Issues Forum many times. In the Issues Forum, there is the Executive Committee, smaller group that has sought and we've worked with them a lot closer. I think I've been to every one of those committee meetings for the past year and a half, and they have engaged very deeply. They wanted to really get into the weeds on it, and we will be providing that sort of feedback. They kind of look at themselves as that outside voice looking in. These are city representatives. These are elected officials from the cities at the Issues Forum group and then the smaller executive committee. So I think you see we've got it from the administrative level, the elected level, staff level for all our cities, trying to touch and engage as many as possible. So last thing for me, see the timeline again. We're about 12 months-ish. We're in that first 4-month phase, that discover phase. And you'll see a lot of that we've got a public survey, the public meetings are coming out, just a lot of data and information that's being sought, that's being put together right now to give our consultants time to kind of absorb, see what's out there and start to formulate thoughts. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Twee, who's going to run you through rest with a little more detail on the consultants' work and that team.
Good afternoon. Twee Shutt again. I'm so glad to see some of your familiar faces. So I am the county's project manager for this project, and I'm going to try to walk you through, what the consultant has been hired to do and their expertise. So they're a team that has international as well as national transportation experience. Their project manager has worked on the Stitch plan in Atlanta. If you know of the plan, it's to connect downtown. So they have numerous different partners, one of which is also Google. They have data and insight from Google on top of what they'll be modeling and doing the technical work. They'll also be able to gather data from your phones, from different Google platforms to get some real data. So the first stage, as Patrick has mentioned, is really for them to get input from all stakeholders. So the stakeholders list is really extensive. We have over 1,000 of individuals that are on the interested parties, but we primarily also are grouping them in groups of municipalities. There's 39 of our municipalities. We also have transportation expert like the TPA, South Florida Regional Transit Authority. We also have Brightline and other private rail providers, plane, trains, automobiles, that kind of thing. The county is looking at this project as being a multimodal project. So it is ways to get people to and from goods and services as safely and as efficiently as possible. As you know, our county is 1.5 million in population, over 1,900 square miles. So Palm Beach County unincorporated covers the Glades as well as the coastal communities. Some of our district commissioners have 13 municipalities, and one or a few have no municipalities in their jurisdiction. It's very, very, it's one of those avant-garde project where everybody's going to be able to have a say in it. Usually counties don't invite other stakeholders in our process. Like Patrick says, we did it in this particular instance because we actually even have external non-county participant in selecting this group. So just quick add on to Patrick, what Patrick has said. We had our first kickoff meeting. Usually most of the kickoff meetings in your engineering project is done internally. We did it publicly to make sure that people know when and where to participate, where their input can be meaningful. We also charge the consultant in the scope of work to make sure to come up on top of what we would recommend, their own way in which they can engage the public and to have it be meaningful, utilizing technology, polling, typical surveys, website, social media, just to get the word out. So with that, we are on about 50% of our first stage. There are 4 stages. The first being just the data collecting and introduction to the stakeholders. On top of our transportation stakeholders, we also have businesses like yourselves represented, primarily the chamber, also the Economic Council. We also have those groups as a separate stakeholders. We also have non-transportation public agencies and special dependent districts such as your DDAs, your CRAs who fund some of the infrastructure work in some of the downtown areas. As well as, a number of drainage district that actually had roadway responsibilities like Indian Trails. So it's a pretty large group of stakeholders we have. And then we also have interested parties who just want to just sign on just to get input, information on the meetings. So we're right now at the stage where the consultant is looking at having surveys and having these public meetings to engage the public. These meetings, as Patrick says, starts on September 10th. There are 2 meetings on the 10th, 2 meetings on the 11th, 2 meetings on the 17th, and 2 meetings on the 18th. So the way that these meetings are done, it's geographically, it's not geographic specific, it's just being offered at different locations so that you can get maximum input. So I live in downtown Delray. I work in Jog Road Vista Center. So I can choose to take a survey when go to the meeting in Delray, or I can go to the one up in Vista Center. So there's one meeting for each commission district or vicinity. And then the last meeting, the 8th meeting, will be at Vista Center for countywide. If you haven't been able to make any of the other meetings, you can come to the meeting, the last meeting, which will take place at 6 to 8. So I'm going to fast forward through that. So as I mentioned, again, we had the kickoff meeting. The consultant launched the PBC moves.com website. This is where we're hoping to have the centralized data gathering and distribution. As you can see, they have, it's a project in development. So this will be a very fluid site where you can come and see upcoming meetings. You can provide input, comments, and also where you can we're going to be developing our media kit as well. So for those of you who represent different community groups or business groups, we're hoping to have a media kit there so you can download a little bit of information about the project and then how you can stay involved and some of the articles that has been publicized for the project. Okay. So as I mentioned before, these are the upcoming meetings, which I hope everyone would have a chance to participate either in person or through surveys. As I said before, they're strategically done so that you can either come to the meeting, participate in the mornings or in the daytime or at night. And again, these are an open house format. There'll be different stations. So you can come, you don't have to stay all 2 hours. You can come at any time during those 2 hours, provide your comment, ask questions of the consultant team, and look at some of the stations in which you can zero in on the different details and the different aspects of transportation. So again, we have such a wide breadth of transportation needs in the county. You have all of your mass transit and all your larger densely populated coastal areas. And then you have in the county, in the Glades and in the western communities in unincorporated county, you're looking at one unit for 10 to 20 acres. So that would be more rural. So you're looking at agricultural production, you're looking how to move folks and how to really respect the certain communities like the equestrian community, right? So horses and trucks don't mix. So the consultant will have to come up with a very innovative way to be able to formulate that in a countywide master plan and list the different priorities and how to put them in a set of a list so that for future funding purposes, the county and or the city can look at ways in which they can collaboratively look to either do grants or budget things so that those improvements can be done. So these are the stakeholders' input web pages on the website. So to the furthest right hand is the contact pull down screen. And when you first come there, you will basically have 3 sections. The first section is to really, if you want to just participate and subscribe to know what's going on, you can just do so in the red area. You just sign up for your emails. If you want to comment throughout the process, you can also select the bottom, the blue section, and you can identify if you represent yourself as an individual or a organization. So yes, you can participate twice. You can do a comment or your survey for yourself as an individual, and you can, if you represent an organization, you can also, if you work for a organization, you can also participate as a representative of an organization. So there is a survey that's going to be available between now and it will last through the 30 days after the last public meeting on September the 18th. So we do that to have everybody have ample chance to participate for maximum input. So really with that, that's all I have to introduce you all to this, and I hope you guys will take the time to participate. It's very valuable. The consultant will take the data. They will then go and do their analysis and modeling. They will also be interviewing simultaneously with this public meeting phase. They're going to also interview the various stakeholders group, the transportation group, the non-transportation public agencies such as the school district. That is so important how we move our children safely. And also they'll be interviewing you all and civic groups as well. So please look for that. And I'm here for any questions.
Ruth, do we have any public comments on this item?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, going to open it up to committee members. Let's start with Jim.
Twee, how are you? Patrick, thank you for the presentation. Two quick questions. In the paper, the lot recently has been the Tri-Rail and the funding thereof and so forth. Is that part of this discussion or not? And that's the first question.
I would say the funding, no. The need, viability, the value that it provides should be there, yes. The funding thing is going to carry its own discussion.
Then the second question, follow-up question was, do we anticipate that the county will actually adopt this program? I mean, you spent $1 million on the study, and are they going to make a formal adoption of the
Can't say we've gotten there yet. I would tend to think so, but I don't know and don't want to get in front of our board. Certainly a lot more by way of discussion. I think also what the county may do and how the cities may want to adopt, endorse, embrace wherever it may go. I'll probably be back to the board at a point in time to seek that guidance as well, but I can't tell you definitively right now.
Thank you.
All right, Myron.
Thank you. This looks like a very interesting and worthwhile thing to do. And my question is, following on Jim's, is its implications for the long-range long-range transportation plan. Most of what TPA does is dominated by FDOT. And there are a lot of state and federal highways in the system, and TPA is also interested in intermodal things. So I guess my ultimate question is, how is this going to influence the long-range transportation plan?
Well, I would take you a step even deeper or further than that, and working with TPA on the LRTP, the aspect, back to what I pointed out earlier, the input from every city and what transportation means to them. Unincorporated, we deal with a lot of our farm roads. We're about to spend $5-6 million repaving County Road 880 and some others out west. Point of that is, in the LRTP are a lot of those super urbanized area type improvements. This goes much deeper, much further than that, and encompasses all of them. The LRTP will feed that information, will be there. We can get meetings set up with the TPA to hear that, but we're going to go even deeper than that.
Well, I should think that if this study comes out with priorities, as I saw that word up there, those priorities are what were really very important for the TIP, for example. Because funding for projects in the TIP, there's always a line, things get funded above, they don't get funded below. So the question is, I guess this is an opportunity for the political community to really establish some coordinated county-wide priorities for improving the mobility around the county. So that's a terrific opportunity, I think, if it comes to that.
If I may, a lot of the things we don't see are some of the smaller cities that may not have state and county roads, and their transportation needs may be bike lanes and maintenance of the local roads as well. So the county's approach is a multimodal, not just, transportation of the roads, but also multimodal and having to look at the maintenance of these things. And hopefully, yeah, the cities will have, ways in which they can fund, they can collect, they come with the county to go after federal dollars, so it's a collective effort to even share land uses and approvals that were approved but never built, so there's a number of things that it needs to address because a lot of the citizenry, they don't know when they cross county lines, municipal lines, so they don't care. They just want to get from A to B as fast and efficiently as possible.
Another question, how much money is involved in transportation writ large in the county that we're talking about?
Oof.
In terms of what's being spent to improve transportation and mobility in the county now? We know what's, in the tip, but there's all this other stuff that's going on.
I don't have an exact number. I could tell you pretty easily from a county perspective, we're well into the hundreds of millions of dollars on transportation at large.
I would think that it would be of interest to the public to know what the county and the municipalities are spending on transportation.
Gotcha.
Any other committee member comments? Thank you, Myra. All right, seeing none. Patrick, Twee, thank you very, very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And it's awesome to see this county effort. I think it's much needed and it's great. It's great to see. And I welcome it as well as I think everybody else here on the committee. Couple of quick questions though, real quick. So these meetings that are open to the public, what format are they going to be in?
They're going to be in person with an open house format.
Okay.
So unfortunately, we won't, there's no need to live stream. I'll have a whole hour, but we will welcome, input through your survey if you can't make it in person. And also you have the website, you can put your comments in there as well. And that's continuing throughout the project as well. So.
And just real quickly, as the CAC members here, what can we do to best help you all with this effort? I think we are in tune with our communities and stuff. And so how best can we be of use?
Really provide your comment as business owners, as economic folks, and what your experiences are, what your customers, where do they go to get your goods and services? Are they, like I said, I worked in Delray. Jim knows that. I was their urban planner 20 years ago. And Delray decided they want gridlock. They fought DOT and hence you see the liveliness that's here, but they have issues now with parking structures and so on. But one of the needs of the business community at that time is really to be able to drive the traffic there. So, and they did it so well that all their events were taking over all the weekends and so on and so forth. So what the city did there was to do a cluster study to see what type of sectors are being used in each of the 8 clusters that's in there. And I remember walking just to count parking spaces and figure out, they've tried a lot of things. They've tried in lieu parking. They tried, through the different economic downturns and upturns. But they knew what they wanted. They wanted the 5-star restaurant first before they wanted the more fast food type of product. And then they wanted a family oriented things first. So they had, back 25 years ago, they had an idea what they wanted for the downtown. So I would look to you all and your expertise in the economic field to help us planners and engineers, really connect that to the real life situation you're dealing with and how your customers as well as your services, the people the distributor that comes. And what happens when you do have roadway construction for those development projects, right? And then you need to have your UPS trucks to deliver your goods and service. Those are the input we would probably need as planners to look outside of just the pavement and the sidewalk and the lighting. Though the lighting help, right, for your nightlife and things like that. But those are the expertise we really need from your perspective.
Great. Thank you very much. And one last question. I assume we'll be seeing more, and this goes to the TPA staff as well. I assume we'll be seeing more of you all as this process unfolds with updates and so
Yes.
forth, or?
Yes, and then we'll have monthly updates. We'll have a template. We'll have a different branding that they're developing now, so people will be recognizing the project. Yes, and when we can, we will have the consultant meet with the various we'll wholesale it, I call it, because they can't meet with everybody. They'll run up our budgets. And that won't make us feel very good. But we'll try to make sure that they get a chance when they are in town in the particular area. They will definitely try to get the meetings as well. Plus, they will also have various, regionally specific. Right now, these meetings are just ample opportunity for input, but they will be coming into different region and really sitting down with those groups as well. So, and it may be virtual. For instance, they may have breakout rooms. The economic folks are going one Zoom room, and then, again, the residents may go to another. So it's up to them to come up with the most effective, meaningful ways to get public input and data.
Thank you very much. We all know how much important public comment is, and so anything we can do to get that comment where it needs to go is appreciated. So, seeing no other comments?
Oh, Mr. Chair,
Yes,
if I
Matthew.
may, I would encourage also the CAC members in preparation for those meetings next week, and we hope to see you there, as TPA staff will try to attend themselves. Look at the surveys. They definitely did a great breakdown where they have public, business, and technical surveys. So I'm sure that applies, some of those might apply multiple times to multiple people. And we are a bright room here, so I encourage you to take a look at those surveys, pass those surveys along to those appropriate business partners, technical staff that you know, or even friends and family in the public. And I think that will help you start getting ideas for when those meetings begin next week and the conversation really kicks off and helps out. So I would encourage the members to begin there.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Tweet. Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate it. All right, so our next informational item is the TPA crash dashboard. So I'm going to invite Matthew, Senior Planner, to present on this item. Matthew?
Sorry, as we transition here. Good afternoon, everyone. So this will be a brief presentation, but I wanted to, the TPA wanted to share our newest application. It is our TPA crash dashboard. Is anyone here familiar? I'm gonna make this interactive. Anyone familiar with Signal 4? All right, we got a few people. This is great because I can explain it then. So Signal 4 is a resource by the state that provides crash data. It's publicly accessible, and I'll show you, since only a few of you know, I'll show you an example. But there's some limitations within, and the TPA really wants to create a standardized way to examine crash data and create projects, create conversations to create projects to really make improvements in the area. Next slide. But just to kind of first off, what is Vision Zero? Vision Zero is a movement, challenging us to eliminate all traffic fatalities and serious injuries. It relies on the expertise of engineers, public health officials, everyone here, policymakers, roadway users, engineers. And, we're looking at the system to make it safer for everyone. So between 2019 and 2023, which is where we're focusing most of our data currently, 9 people were dying daily here on Florida roadways. 44 were seriously injured. So this is a real serious issue. Many of you may know that Florida is also one of the top fatality states in the country. So we want to start making inroads and improving that number to get it down to 0. Next slide. And where the TPA has really begun is back in 2016, we started with our complete street policies and guidelines back in 2016 to 2017, eventually getting into our adoption of Vision Zero fatalities resolution in 2018, and eventually building upon that and actually creating the Vision Zero action plan, which I'll get into. We have 2 communities that have put in place their own. We've created progress report cards back in 2020, leading to our first Vision Zero action plan update. And now we have developed social media toolkits, quarterly reports that some of you may have seen. Recently, last year, doing our speed management plan, and then this past January, February, doing the Safe Streets Summit. And now we're looking towards the future to improve the data and the conversations surrounding Vision Zero. And just to kind of give some background, so we're really focused on those 5 E's, that comprehensive approach on focusing for a safe and accessible environment for our all road users. And that really starts with the engineering, supporting the safer people, safer streets, safer speeds. And then, of course, going into this field and actually evaluating, the progress, not just looking at the math on paper, but actually seeing the, are we able to actually use the environment that's been built? And of course, going into the community, doing that education, which we've been doing with a lot of road safety audits, going into multiple communities like Boca, where they had their bike rodeo, Wellington with their national bike to parks day, and also a bike rodeo of sorts. And then, of course, going into things like enforcement, so encouraging the safer people and safer speech, but with actual actionable items, to encourage those safer uses. And again, just encouraging at the end of it, we want to have everyone to enjoy this. We don't want to make it a chore. We want people to enjoy it and have fun. That's TPA staff enjoying the Lions Road bike facility that was recently completed. So where has Vision Zero policies been adopted? Of course, we're targeting all 39 municipalities, but currently 14 have adopted a policy. And I want to highlight City of Green Acres and the Village of Wellington have actually adopted a Vision Zero action plan. So it's encouraging to see that communities are moving forward and making progress. We would love to see more communities continue to add to that list so we can keep it growing. Next slide. So now to get really into the actual dashboard and the data. So, we're wanting to not only just analyze and share data because everyone here can have access and do that, but we want to really create a historical database that helps identify high risk areas of concern that we can begin to have conversations about actionable items, and making those steps for improvements, putting them into the tip, encouraging you to apply for TA grants. Excellent. So you want to go to go to the link. So this is Signal 4 as Ruth pulls it up. This is the Signal 4 dashboard that the state of Florida currently has. You have to reshare, I believe. It should be just in our Explorer. So this is the current Signal 4 dashboard that the public has access to, that you can have access to without an account or anything. And it's a good dashboard. It has a lot of statistics and charts and everything, but it can also be very overwhelming. And an issue that we encountered was that when we went to sit down with stakeholders, is if you zoom in all the way, it only gets up to like a city level where you can't even see intersections or detailed areas. It's pretty much a heat map. So like what you're seeing now, but if you want to go ahead and just zoom in all the way. Yeah, just zoom in anywhere. Yep. So it's just to show you that that's your max zoom level, which isn't the best when wanting to sit down and really detail, because we have some small municipalities here. And also, if we want to focus on intersections or certain areas, it can be hard to really identify that when we're looking so high level. I'm going to go to the dashboard. There you go. So the TPA has developed a crash dashboard that goes more into detail and provides some more general statistics, but also additional information that might be hidden or not as difficult to access with Signal 4. We still give you the heat map, and we still give you some of those charts, but we try to compact it. And Ruth, if you want to just zoom into West Palm, for instance. it'll give it a second to load. We can actually look at the specific crashes now. So something that Signal 4 wouldn't typically let you look at. We've done this for the entire county and allow you to filter and analyze this not only by your municipality, multiple municipalities, crash severity, crash type, but we've also added some filters. If you want to hit the little button on the side over here. We actually incorporated a lot of filters that even Signal 4 does not have, such as functional classification, context classification, number of lanes, posted speed limit, and roadway owners. So if you have curiosities and understanding, who owns the roads that you're having crashes on, what are the speeds of those roads, what are the lanes of those roads? No surprise that a lot of these are big arterial roads that are multiple lanes, like 6, 8 lanes. But we can start to have some conversations about safety, where safety needs to be focused on, and also grow this dashboard to incorporate new elements such as school zones, intersections, especially now with the introduction in the county of permissive left turns. And I know this has come up in other boards where there's interest in maybe what the crashes are. So we can start to incorporate those things and really analyze projects, potential areas of concern that maybe need projects and improvements, and also putting out, updating our projects that have been implemented and seeing crash changes over time, since this is a dashboard that captures 2019 to 2023, but we intend to update annually and continue to add to it. So we can actually see change over time and how our projects are making an impact on the crashes. So that's all I have for the presentation, but I'm happy to take any questions about the application itself. We will have a tutorial video that'll be coming out later in the year to help with access and usage of the application. But I'm happy to field any questions.
Thank you, Matthew. Staff, any public comments on this item?
No, Mr. Chair.
Any questions from CAC members? Yes, Lily.
I just wanted to say that I pre-saw this at the GIS Expo one week ago, and the reception from other GIS users were that they were so interested and intrigued in how the TPA was utilizing this data and how they could get their hands on similar data sets. And I just wanted to say that you and Brian did a really great job on this.
Thank you.
Agreed, Lily. Between this and the project maps you all have started using too and stuff for tip and things like that, it's just been made so much information so easily available. It's a level of transparency I think is awesome. Greg?
I want one kind of dumb but obvious question.
Sure.
For all this crash data, et cetera. And I think we all experience this, the cell phones.
Mhm.
In everybody's face. You sit at a stoplight, everybody's got a cell phone out, they're looking down, and someone's always honking because someone's on a cell phone. And it's a serious issue. And, some people, of course, use the hands free, but it just seems like it's more and it's more and it's more. And I don't know how that computes in some of the data that we're doing here, but if you have something, I think it would be interesting to see.
So yeah, to answer your question, one way we've been able to incorporate some of that data, and Ruth, if you want to scroll down a little bit, each of these crashes, each dot that you see actually has a number of attributes. Some of them are the filter attributes like the functional classification of roadways, but you'll see things like distracted drivers, which would be related to cell phone usage, speeding, aggressive drivers, hit and runs, alcohol involvement or drug involvement. And then of course, something I think in addition to cell phones that's probably on people's minds is whether they're old or young drivers, teens that are driving fast or elderly people maybe that might be distracted or, and also additionally, if there's passengers involved, is it just someone by themselves or is it a multi-individual crash? So we definitely have the engineers and we definitely are incorporating what we can for the social aspects as well. Yeah.
All right. Myron?
Thank you. You mentioned the data we've seen so far are integrated data over several years.
Yes.
And you mentioned you're going to update the data.
Yeah.
We'll eventually be able to look at, say, month to month or quarter to quarter data, so that you can see seasonal changes or other trends in specific locations.
Sure. So we do have a filter currently at the top left there for a crash date. Um, you can filter by date and you can filter down to the second. So since the crash data we were able to extract time and date down to the second, we can actually filter that, which is why we're looking to eventually build out a like school zone line work. And then we can eventually, someone can go in and say, my kid goes in between 7 and 7:30 when, the lights are flashing and we can understand whether there's more crashes happening at that time, for instance. And as we go into more data, you'll be able to do more of a month-to-month analysis, like you're saying.
Thank you. One other comment. There's the crash type versus crash events bar chart. Some of those, that's surprising
Mhm.
to me. The rear end's not surprising, having been a victim. But right turn seems, can you comment about it? That, I mean, does this make sense?
I mean, I won't personally comment. This is what the data is. I'm not surprised, I will say. I will say I'm not surprised. Um, I think it just goes to show that, especially like for rear ends, that, we have large roadways. There are, 6 to 8 lanes that are high speeds. We were talking about distracting driving. I think, you can kind of see, you can see your assumptions kind of coming into physical numbers and data. Whether that's the correlation and end all be all for everything right now, we would have to dive more deeper into the data, but you're seeing that like,
I remember some years ago, this committee, we were presented with actual crash reports.
Mhm.
I don't remember for over what period of time, but there were a series of them.
Mhm.
And I personally at the time was astonished at how many crashes there were from right turns.
Mhm.
As people coming up and looking left and then turning right and hitting bicycles and pedestrians and things like that. So I was really surprised that the right turn was so infrequent in that chart.
No, and I will say that when we do RSAs, road safety audits, as parts of improving, to decrease these statistics, that right turn and left turns out of like strip malls, for instance, that becomes a high topic. But I think now it's a little easier for us because we can just put in some line work and then be able to have this dashboard kind of process the data for us on the fly and really try to understand like what you're talking about. Like, is it just something we're seeing because we have those assumptions, or is data actually showing that that's just something people do and it's a commonality? And also to add on, we do have I'll just add that the charts, there are little arrows on them, so you can actually filter through multiple charts. So for instance, Myron, you were talking about month to month. The bottom colorful chart is the month to month currently of crash events. So you can actually see that, interestingly enough, in March, if we all want to think about spring break and December, big travel seasons. So some interesting things to kind of come up with that. Also, Ruth, if you want to go back to the previous one, the left one, our day-to-day ones, Friday, no surprise, is a big one, with Sunday being barely any, comparatively. But so we can really start to have some conversations about like these numbers and assumptions that people have, and then actually drill down to intersections. Are these trends following that? So we can really start diving into the data on the fly, which is great. And this is also mobile capable, compatible, sorry, with a phone. So I do sometimes go on walks. I feel like a grim reaper when I see a crash while I'm walking, and I'm like, you're going to be on my dashboard in a few months. So, but it is interesting that, I walk on a nice, I live in the Wellington area, so I can walk around and I feel pretty safe, but then I can pull this up while I'm walking and I see the amount of crashes that have happened in the last 5 years. And it's a little scary. And then I start to think about the intersections of my safety. And I've done that more often as I bike trails and stuff near roadways. So it is a great resource to get people to start to think and, get that process started and actually see data. Reports, the quarterly reports that we do, they are helpful, but it's definitely really helpful to also see it in an interactive map kind of format as well, especially if you can be on the road doing it.
All right, Cheryl?
Thank you for the great work. I just have a couple of questions. I'm curious because with these dashboards, like, can you export the data or is it just like a PDF report that comes out of whatever you're looking at?
So right now we have the shape files, which are the GIS kind of mapping of the files. Those are exportable. We're working on making like a more tailored version for the dashboard that you can export as like maybe like an Excel file. It's just making sure that like certain like IDs for like offers like identifiable things aren't there just to keep with privacy concerns. But that is in the works coming down the pipeline as well.
And then is this just cars or is it like multimodal in terms of like pet and bike included in the crash?
It's
Data.
multimodal. There's also Ruth, if you want to go to the data category tab. So currently right now, this is what we're looking at is the crash event. So this is, it doesn't matter how many vehicles, how many people, this was just the event of the crash. We actually have several other dashboards incorporated with this that provide similar format, which is why I didn't want to bog everyone down, but basically a similar format, but it actually dives into the drivers. So you might be able to learn things about, drowsiness, distraction driving, those kind of things. The non-motorists involved, which drills more into like what you were asking about the pedestrians, the bicyclists. And then we also have some other ones which we're still playing with and debating about where including such as like passengers involved and the vehicles involved. They're just really big data sets. So we're trying to streamline it to be the most informative, but also easy to export data for. But we wanted to just put all the information out there and kind of learn what people are using and what they find useful at the moment.
And one last thing, are you going to use, is there an intention to use this data to then understand like priority improvements within transportation projects?
It's definitely there to start those conversations. We definitely want to use that. So, because it is, for anyone who's seen those quarterly reports, they take a lot of staff time and a lot of effort to put together. And this is a little easier for us to, throw the data together. And then if we have to go meet with a local community or even just members of the public, it's easier to sit down and be like, let's look at your community and the data and get a quick kind of dashboard report that's tailored to the year that maybe you're talking about. So it's an additional help for those. It's an additional resource to help us in that effort.
Win.
Thank you. I think this is really great. Thank you so much with this information. I think previously, as mine mentioned, that we were getting those reports. I think that was very costly to the TPA. I think this is a very good alternative, and I think it's a really great use and resource for everyone in the county. That's one point. I do want to comment as far as right turn crashes. I do think that it's very common. It's especially at signalized intersection, especially when you have a green light, people tends to make that free flowing movement, not considering yielding conditions. In the Northeast and in other areas, there's recommendations for right turn reduction speed, and there's ways to do that. Typically, when we think of a large intersections, the radius itself is designed for large turning vehicles like trucks, right, and buses. So when you have a vehicle, a single occupancy vehicle like myself, you tend to take that turn a little faster than average. So I do think that's very common as far as the crash type in these analysis. I have not had a chance to review this. I think it's fantastic. I was hoping if there's a way to filter KSIs.
Yes.
Killed and seriously injured.
Yeah. No. Sorry,
I'm speaking to the other.
No, sorry. My brain's a little fried. No, yes, you can actually. Sorry, I keep commanding Ruth around.
Yeah.
If you want to just hit the X real quick.
So I think it's important, especially in Vision Zero, because that's the data that we typically like to see, is that it's never vehicle versus vehicle, because that's most of your crash type, but it's the vehicle versus pedestrian, vehicle versus like your cyclist. That's where the
Yeah, so what Ruth's doing right now, she's using the crash severity filter and is filtering by fatality and serious injury at the moment. So you can look at those crashes, and that goes for all the dashboards, like the drivers and the other ones that are associated with this. And it'll just filter everything to crash or to
Right.
fatality and serious injury type crashes.
Right. And I do have one last question in reference to earlier in your presentation, there was a ADA I'm sorry, not ADA, Vision Zero report card. I was thinking if there's an opportunity, especially a lot of the grant projects that we award as the TPA, if there's any after data, is there a report card on something like that? And again, I'm just thinking back at the city of West Palm Beach as an early adopter of a Vision Zero policy, right? It started in 2017, 2018, where it was adopted, but it takes years for corridors to get funded and built. So I can tell you that from a data that I have recently, like Banyan Boulevard, we see it coming into downtown every day. That was a project, Complete Streets project, not necessarily removing roadway capacity, but you're talking about as simple as adding a median and like a one-way cycle track on either side. With those streetscape element, I just pulled up the crash data after the project was constructed. You have a 30% reduction on total crashes along the corridor, and that's a big deal because when we think about fatality along the corridor, we're down to 0 pedestrian fatality on that small stretch of downtown. So I think like those are the things that's encouraging, especially when we're prioritizing funding and as project comes in, like it's really great to see if other cities who receive the funding could create their own report card to report back to.
And I think, like I was mentioning before, we're definitely going to look at mapping or taking our tip mapping for those kind of projects like Banyan and just putting it on there so that you can filter and see, 2019 to 2020, see the crashes and maybe see it after, see
Yeah,
that
it was
see
very
that
consistent with your E in your evaluation
Yeah.
as how to evaluate the effectiveness of what
Right.
type of funding project. Thank you.
Any other comments? Yeah, no, after Matthew did it with me at a gender review, I spent a little time looking at the city of Palm Beach Gardens and I had some thoughts validated and some surprises. It was a powerful tool and I encourage us all to spend a little bit of time on it and share it with those people that we know are of influence in our communities. So that being said, seeing no other comments, items 4A through 4D are informational only. There will be no staff presentations unless requested by a committee member. Hearing none. Are there any public comments on these items?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, our next CAC meeting is scheduled for October 1st, 2025. At this time, our committee meeting is adjourned.